Patrick Faber, his ministry is going to name a Camalote preschool after his mother, but the village pushes back against it. Tonight you'll hear the minister say, fine. And he wants to be prime minister, but what's Faber doing engaging in an online spat with the president of the teachers union? She says he called her an idiot. Also, when election day comes around, will the hundreds of persons who have COVID-19 will be allowed to vote? Patrick Faber says it might be too much of a risk. Plus, Big Tom, he was accused of orchestrating an act of forcible sexual abuse on camera. But today when he went to court, he said his constitutional rights were violated. Also, heroin on the move through Belize. Will tell you how police found almost 8 pounds coming up from the south. We've got details of these and other stories in our newscast for tonight, Wednesday, October 7, 2020. Good evening. With the On News, I'm Indira Kerr.
The world as we know it has changed. Now, more than ever, local businesses need our support. Whether they're taking online orders, setting appointments, or taking reservations, our business customers depend on us for the best in business solutions, high-quality products, and reliable services to keep them connected to their customers, to keep their doors open. Digi is ready for this change, and we're committed to doing what it takes to ensure that businesses can remain profitable during this time. Digi is here, and you don't have to do this alone. Together, let's embrace the new and unlock all the waiting possibilities.
Is there anybody out there? Tell me, anybody out there? Can anyone hear me now? Can anyone hear me now? It's time to move this country forward. We can't put it in the hands of the cowards. Patrick Faber, daddy man, he's not afraid to stand up and fight for we nation. We need honesty, integrity, unity. So we're staying with the UDP for honesty. Integrity, and unity. Both Patrick and the UDP. We're moving forward, moving forward. Your future matters. Moving forward, we're moving forward, moving forward. With Patrick and the UDP.
For hydration, when the choice is yours, choose the brand you have always trusted. Crystal Water. Taste you can trust.
Look, Dred, stay home. You will help all the way.
And I'm a farmer, and I want to tell you now, be safe, stay home.
This is not about me, nor about you personally. This is about the situation we face today. Stay home down the house so we could curb the flow of the coronavirus.
Hey everybody, I'm just letting you know to stay home. It's best for all of us.
Nirengwe husun gari la rele umamula rasula grige ha go farala hamona lula rele umula la riga liabe la sandi le yahon.
Kung mensahe tanto mansabul mena gobierno Belize ete la corona dato manu kolines chawotoch kuruntisha bahel poisa ku bisik tu masika health authority di wantikal ti doctor ti nurse ti moya talamea te la corona dato manu.
To all the youths in Belize, please stay home for me and be safe.
Somos los jóvenes de Belize. Hagamos nuestra parte. Quedémonos en casa.
Please stay home. I'm going home right now. You know, I see me again for months. So take care. Wash your hands.
大家好，小心病毒找上你，勤洗手，保健康。
新冠病毒咧係非常之危險㗎，所以咧最好咧為咗大家嘅安全咧都係留喺屋企。唔該。
Vidunga yo reide hubamuna. Chibaha me hahabu.
Most one girl go on go away corona.
Nimpat ere, cuanco seca, ma barto el itahulticas chahbalicop chihonili.
Ayudemos a los doctores y enfermeras. Por favor, quédense en casa, por su seguridad y la nuestra.
God bless. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
In partnership with the British High Commission.
Elections are on November 11th, and the UDP has no real leader. Patrick Faber is still only leader-elect, days from election. The UDP doesn't trust Patrick to be the leader. Why? The UDP doesn't have confidence in Patrick. They don't respect Patrick. That's why he is still only leader-elect. Poor Patrick. Always a bridesmaid and never the bride. If the UDP doesn't think Patrick can lead the party just days from election, they know why. If the UDP doesn't trust Patrick, then we can't either. Same old UDP, same faces, same greed, arrogance, corruption, and incompetence.
Looking for that well-deserved weekend break this summer? A romantic getaway? Family fun? It's all waiting for you at Naya Resort and Spa in Placencia, where every Belizean is a VIP, with 50% local discount, free room upgrade, and unmatched privacy. Luxury has never been more affordable. Call 523-4600 or email reservations at nayaresortandspa.com.
Enjoy fantastic savings all October long with NextGen service. Sign up for our student internet program and save 10% off internet for the entire year. NextGen gives you affordable internet plans so you can work and study conveniently and efficiently. Having difficulty staying connected with the other guys? This October, reconnect your NextGen cable or internet service for free. Offer ends October 31st. Visit the branch office near you today or contact us at 880-4200. NextGen, powered by Central TV and Internet.
The Belize Mental Health Association presents a Philaton event to commemorate World Mental Health Day on Saturday, October 10th from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. This community outreach is soliciting funds, clothing, and volunteers for the Welcome Resource Center. Your contribution will help us to meaningfully support the homeless and mentally ill. Our telethon will feature guest speakers and live entertainment, and will present information on homelessness and the annual high school speech competition on mental health issues. It will be broadcasted nationally and streamed live on the Welcome Resource Center Facebook page. Submit your pledges in advance or on Saturday, October 10th. Let us all commit to promoting mental health for all. Greater investment, greater access.
Patrick Faber hopes to be Prime Minister in the next 35 days, but last night he got into a petty Facebook exchange with the president of the Belize National Teachers Union, Elena Smith. Smith called his mother's name teasingly in a post, and while that would be enough to make any son jump to mom's defense, the whole story is that she only did it because his mother's name, Elizabeth Betty Leona Brown Pott, is about to be the name of a preschool in Camalote Village. So that puts it in the public domain, and last week the village chairman was the first one who raised an objection to it.
The naming of the preschool, and we want to get a little understanding too about the management behind the preschool. The name Betty Brown Pott, if I'm not mistaken, we don't really know who in the world Betty Brown Pott is. So the name Betty Brown Pott, we want to sanction a petition in these coming days and over the weekend to acquire signatures to reach out to the Minister of Education to please have that rename complete, because I think it's a total slap in the face.
Speaking to the media today at his Belize City office, Faber responded first by defending his mother's suitability to have a school named after her as a pioneering educator, but also conceded that if the village have one of their own to recommend for the school name, he also supports that.
Betty Leone Brown Pot, as I put in my post this morning, is my mother, and it should not matter that I am her son. She has had a long, distinguished career in education, in early childhood education, more importantly. She was one of the first certified early childhood instructors in this country. So I don't understand why that would be a problem, and because I am her son, she would be deprived of such a worthy honor. The idea to name the preschools, it's not an unusual one, and it is not something that's limited to my mother at all. Remember that under the CDB project that we're doing, we're building something like 22 preschools countrywide. And it is not only one preschool. A decision was made not by me, but by my ministry, my team, to name these preschools after noted educators who have contributed to particularly early childhood education. I think the chairman and the Kamalote committee, council as you call them, have a very valid point, and I am honestly very prepared to listen to that and to discuss with them. This in fact is the first time I'm hearing today, or yesterday was the first time I heard that there was some kind of outcry from the community about it. If that is the position, I am saying that is noteworthy, that is worthy. Let's talk about it. I am not opposed to. There has never been a case of that coming to me and I said, no, absolutely, it have to be Carlson. None at all.
And while it seems that that dispute, can be put away easily enough, not so for the Facebook spat he had with Elena Smith, the president of the Teachers Union. She put up a post last night saying, quote, "So, I posted a question earlier. I wrote, Betty Brown Pot School? Why the name sound familiar? Dafi huma that? Makes me wonder." And then she says, Faba WhatsApped her saying, "Your comment about my mother shows the kind of lowlife that you are. I'll leave you to God. I'm the kind of leader that will not allow an idiot to disrespect my mother." Smith posted a sharp reply to this and ended by saying, quote, "Any person who acts like a petty, spoilt brat does not deserve to be in the position you are aspiring for. You are certainly behaving like you wear a skirt. A damn bully is what you are, but you nor any of your cronies who scrutinize my Facebook page will bully me into being silent. You want to fight with me on a personal level? Bring it on. This is one woman your hands will not touch," end quote. Today, Faba would not respond to that stinging reply and would only say he was sorry he had tangled with Smith in the first place.
I regret being baited into that situation, and for those who have said, "Lord man, Faba man, this is no behavior way becoming of a prime ministerial aspirant," then I apologize. But I will not apologize for defending my mother's name, and I will not apologize for accepting to put something in her honor when she did that in her own right. It should not be held against her that her son is the Minister of Education, longest serving Minister of Education, insofar as it might not have been the best thing to do under these campaign circumstances where you're trying to convince people, of other things in this election season, and knowing fully well that it is, as I've said to you, the kind of season where people will come and throw attacks. Then I should have had better judgment, and I apologize if I offended anyone. But I will defend.
Refer to her as an idiot, sir.
I did not. I said, in fact, and this is a part of the problem, but I don't want to take it any further. She did not share with you the entire she had select quotations which she chose, but as I've said, I don't wish to take it any further. I should have used better judgment, and if it offended her or anybody else, I apologize. It is not normally how I'd want to operate, but you understand when they touch the very delicate tone of my mother, then that sent the thing another way, and I apologize for that.
And moving now to political news, the government today announced as expected that the day of the general elections, Wednesday, November 11th, will be a public and bank holiday. That's to make voting easier for the 180,000 registered elections, when COVID measures will certainly slow the voting process down. Faba explained why government took the decision.
We feel that if work environments only allow for a short time, you got 2 hours to go vote and you don't arrange work and you have to come to Belize and you have to then jump on a bus, you have to go by any means necessary because that vote important for you to put in, then you endanger your life because you then put yourself in a situation that is not COVID safe. But if we give the day, it makes it much easier for people to find their way at some point of the day to the polling station so that they can do their duty to their country and vote.
Faba said that government could not even consider entertaining the chamber's proposals to hold the election on a Sunday because that would put them in trouble with the churches. So what will that election day be like, and how will the likely hundreds of persons with an active COVID diagnosis vote? And how will the authorities, from the political parties to the election official to the police, make sure that the election does not become a super spreader event? Well, today we discussed all those variables with the UDP leader-elect.
180,000 people, 11 hours. How can that be done with COVID measure?
It's going to be difficult, I'm pretty sure, and I suspect that there will be a lower turnout as a result of COVID. Naturally, there are people who, well, first of all, there are, if what the numbers are now is any indicator, we would have anywhere from 500 to 800 people who are of voting age who would not be allowed to vote. So that immediately cuts numbers. But
yeah, but how do you handle that? Is it your feeling that these people should be denied their right to vote because they are COVID infected, or in Jamaica, for example, they allow them to vote after polling was closed?
It's a difficult situation and one that we are grappling with to try to come up with some kind of decision. But to endanger so many more, especially if you're considering that last hour as they did in Jamaica, that for us in Belize is crunch time. We have great concerns about ensuring that that process is safe. For instance, when you dip your finger in the ink, maybe you need to sanitize your finger before you put it in the ink because, of course, when you hold the pencil and you put it back in the box, so that pencil has to be sanitized. These are things that we are suggesting, and so we have been trying to educate our voters as much as possible to get them to understand that the party is going to make every precaution necessary. All that we can do, sanitizing cars, making sure that the cars aren't overcrowded, that some level of distancing can be maintained within the vehicles, to make sure that elderly people and people who are vulnerable are taken special care of, that kind of thing.
But I just want to be very clear, since right now we have over 800 active cases, your intuition at this time is that we cannot have those, and it will be a similar number, a greater number at that time.
Well,
that we can't have those people vote, even though you know.
That's a bit pessimistic, Jules. I would want to imagine that our numbers are improving and that
it would be an imagination,
or
indeed,
that it would by that time that we would have had a better handle on things. But I don't want to be premature in saying that because I don't think a solid decision has been made as yet, but it is unlikely, and in my view, it may well jeopardize the safety of others if that route is taken.
The UDP hopes that one of its 31 candidates, Corozal Southeast's Tony Herrera, has recovered from his bout with COVID by then. Herrera said his symptoms are mild and he is self-isolating at home, but his wife had to be hospitalized. Faba says his family's COVID situation has been a stern reality check for his party, while also putting a damper on the election energy.
Obviously now his campaign is interrupted, his spirit is also sapped. One, how does this affect you all? And can you give an update on him and his family? And then two, how has it affected you in your perception of what you're doing out there? And have you taken a COVID test?
I have not, and I have not experienced any symptoms, and so that's the advice. You don't But I've tried to be very conservative in terms of my own movements, as I've expressed to you. I've tried to do my best to stay clear of situations, although you will see that even when you do that, things can creep up on you. I sent a message out to all of my candidates, for instance, earlier this week when Tony messaged to say that he was positive, to say we have to be careful. And it does add a damper on the campaign. And it is not only that, his wife, of course, as you know, is very ill. I think she has a precondition, and so it is a very trying time for him, I suspect mentally as well. But he has done the work in the constituency. He needs to recover, and recover quickly, as we are trying to ensure that he gets his rest and that he tries not to worry too much. And once that is done, he will be back on the campaign trail, I would suspect, before nomination day.
And Herrera's diagnosis is also informing how the party moves forward in an election when most of the campaigning and mass events will be virtual. Politics, that most formal type of contact sport, has been reduced to virtuality. Facebook and Zoom meetings and text messaging via WhatsApp. Faber says it has its benefits and has also given his party time to reflect on how to best connect with voters' real needs in this COVID time.
How are you all adjusting your, what would be called your modalities to engage effectively with voters when you cannot really meet them on that face-to-face level that you normally would?
Well, it has been a challenge, and I think it is new territory for everybody. So that's at least one good thing. It's not a factor that affects one party and doesn't affect the other. It is across the board that this happens. For us, I think we have been, in terms of the effects of COVID, a little bit more on the unfortunate side than the PUP. At least now 2 of our candidates have tested positive for COVID, one fully recovered, but the other still being affected by this deadly disease. As the party leader-elect, I have made my rounds to constituencies via Zoom, and we have very engaging meetings. We strategize, we plan, we energize the machinery of the party, and that is done primarily through distance, digital devices in particular. And it, in a way, it is not what we're used to, but it allows for innovation, and it allows for saving time in many instances. So it is just a matter of connecting at this time and ensuring that they know that the elections are coming, that I am there for them in terms of their needs in my own constituency, I mean, and I suppose others do the same, to stay connected with the voter and to make sure that we get them out on election day. Also, there are several of my colleagues in the party who have made a conscious decision not to spend all this money on paraphernalia for elections. And rather, if we can find those kinds of monies, there is a movement afoot now to provide on the party's behalf food pantry packages to people. My job is also to make sure that the party plays a role in alleviating or ameliorating some of the conditions that exist with our poorer families as a result of COVID. And so a few of our colleagues have said, we're not going to engage in all of this. T-shirts, for instance. We've made a small investment in T-shirts, not to the tune that we would normally do, and rather than put all that money into all of that, we are helping our people with food packages across the country.
And as he looks out at the 31 seats across the country, Faber has to make a sober assessment of which 16 the UDP can win to form the next government. Last night, his opponent, PUP leader John Briceño, boasted that his party would get a comfortable victory and pointed to certain seats which the UDP currently hold, which the PUP feels are now up for grabs. We asked Faber about some of those supposedly vulnerable seats.
there are some seats that are more of a struggle for us. We concede, and in fact, there are some seats that we hold now that we see an uphill struggle with.
Would we be able to speak about some of those? Let's talk about Dangriga, for example. We know they're in fighting. Let's talk about Belize Rural South. We know Junior Heredia is the lion of that division, but that San Pedro Tongue has been so depressed for so long. Belize Rural Central is a marginal seat. The UDP only won it by less than 75 votes in 2015.
I believe that we will win Dangriga quite easily. I think that well, if you know the UDP's history in Dangriga, you will know that there is never a shortage of that kind of divisiveness on the normal. But when it is election time, we hook up and we know how to win. I see that happening. Papa Mena knows how to win. The mayor is on board, and all of those other factions, if you will come together nicely and win. In San Pedro, while COVID has hit them very hard, any representative hit with that kind of situation is under serious pressure. But Manuel has done this before. He has weathered storms out there, literally, many times before, and we see him as our champion there, and the party gives him full support. And I have no doubt in my mind that he will once again deliver that seat. You said, which other one?
Rural
Central. Again, you can't find a harder working representative than Beverly Williams.
But it's a marginal
but
seat.
But it is not only that. No, it was.
It's historically a PUP
correct
seat.
me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know how you get to that. This seat was created for Ralph Fonseca. He won it 2 times, maybe. Who was it that ran against Bev the last time? Was it same Dolores?
It was not Dolores.
So that helps to make my point that it is Dolores, and that is why people have developed a thinking about her candidacy a long time. They made an attempt to reinstate confidence in her some time back, and then that failed too. So the people of Belize Rural Central, in my view, are all the more wiser.
Another area of perceived weakness for the UDP is Belmopan, which John Saldiva has held for 3 successive general elections. Now, it's a 4-way race for that seat, including one independent candidate who was a prominent UDP councillor. Faber said he still thinks Saldiva has it easily.
The PUP is already claiming victory in Belmopan. Are you in the least bit concerned in terms of that seat specifically for the UDP?
Well, not concerned that the PUP is claiming victory at all. You see, this, I listened to my friend, the leader of the opposition, but this is what he has to say if he wants to convince people that he will win. He will have to claim some very important UDP seats. That does not mean it is happening. And I'm told he is talking about some poll. Well, to me, he has to say what he has to say. But in Belmopan, I have the utmost confidence that John Saldiva will deliver the seat once again. John has worked hard. He has worked tirelessly in his constituency. I think that is evident. He has kept a relationship with the people. The candidate, Anabana Guy, who is a friend of our party, and of course, a former UDP city councillor as well.
A former loyalist?
Call her what you will, Jules. I think is a worthwhile candidate, but as the party leader, and you've said it, she is somebody who I placed my confidence in. But there is only one UDP. You're either running for the party or you're running against the party, and so with all the love I have for Anna, my support has got to be for the party's candidate. And while there might be some who feel, and to me undoubtedly there will be a few votes that will go in away from our candidate as a result of another or a past UDP candidate being in the race. But ultimately I think John has the kind of hold on Belmopan. He's a son of the soil there and has that relationship with them, despite whatever else you might think or you might say. I think he has the wherewithal to bring in that constituency comfortably.
Fabo was also pressed to comment on this week's black eye for the UDP, the Shine Barrow domestic incident. As we've reported, Shine's wife, Catherine Barrow, made a police report saying that he had kicked her in the back and received an injury, which a doctor classified as harm. Since then, she has rescinded the report in which she did not request court action. Today, Fabo was guarded in careful remarks about the incident.
Shine's situation is unfortunate, but we've seen what has happened in that case. I am not one to judge him, but I will say this, that for me and for our UDP, we don't condone any kind of violence against anybody, and we make that plain for the record. And we also say that if any situations arise where we have to make a decision that will, of course, lean on the side of those who are victims of such violence, that the decision will be made in that regard. But we don't think that that is the situation now, given what has happened.
As the party leader, have you met with him? Have you had any discussion with him over it?
I spoke to him briefly to hear what he was saying, what was his version of the events.
And we take a break now. When we come back, Big Tom accused in court for forcibly setting up a forcible sex video. But he says police violated his constitutional rights. Don't go away.
We all know the importance of running water and proper drainage in your home. That's why we rely on a fully functional plumbing system. At Benny's, we have all the plumbing supplies and accessories you need. Our pipes, fittings, valves, and adapters are made from durable quality materials. Remember to wash your hands with clean running water from your faucet. We have kitchen and bathroom faucets in various styles and finishes. Whether for installation or maintenance, make sure to use recommended PVC cleaner, solvent, and Teflon tape to fix or prevent leaks. We also have the tools to get the job done. For all your residential, commercial, or industrial plumbing needs, shop at Benny's. Quality and savings.
The United Democratic Party is gearing up for a fourth consecutive victory and the opportunity to continue delivering for Belize. Tune in to our virtual rally on Thursday, October 8th at 7:30 p.m. to witness the official inauguration of the Honorable Patrick Faber as the new UDP leader, farewell to the outgoing party leader, and for the unveiling of our 31 candidates for the 2020 general elections. The UDP's virtual rally airs live on Channel 7, Channel 5, Love FM, Wave Radio and TV, and on Facebook. See you there.
Belize. Almost 400,000 individual beings. Different faces, different cultures, different beliefs. But what keeps us together? It's the moments. It's the memories. It's our connection that we share. We at DigiBelieve, a fiber-based connection is priceless. You can enjoy an incredible fiber connection to your home, plus a free mobile postpaid plan, and a free home phone with free calls. With DigiNet, Belizeans enjoy the most advanced fiber connection to their home. Why choose DigiNet? DigiNet is the ultimate internet experience. So sign up today and step into the future with DigiNet.
In an emergency, people may try to take advantage of a person at risk, including children and women. Avoid this from happening to your family members by practicing the following. Be aware of strangers offering to take your children away and promising to help you or your family. These offers are not always genuine, and a child could be at risk of violence, exploitation, or abuse. Make every effort to let your children know that they can tell you if something happens to them, and it doesn't matter who the person is, that you will listen and report it. Talk to your children and let them know that they should ask for help immediately if someone tries to touch them in an inappropriate way or make them feel uncomfortable. Report any negative behavior or conduct by anyone. By following these tips, you can ensure the safety of your family.
We're ready to get up and
as we know it has changed. Now, more than ever, local businesses need our support. Whether they're taking online orders, setting appointments, or taking reservations, our business customers depend on us for the best in business solutions, high-quality products, and reliable services to keep them connected to their customers, to keep their doors open. Digi is ready for this change, and we're committed to doing what it takes to ensure that businesses can remain profitable during this time. Digi is here, and you don't have to do this alone. Together, let's embrace the new and unlock all the waiting possibilities.
The official hurricane season for the Atlantic Basin, the Atlantic Ocean, the Caribbean Sea, and the Gulf of Mexico is from June 1st to November 30th. If you are ordered not to evacuate, there are things you can do to get through the storm in the safest possible manner. Monitor the radio or TV for weather conditions. Stay indoors until the authorities declare the storm over. Even if the weather appears to have calmed, do not go outside. The calm eye of the storm can pass quickly, leaving you outside when strong winds resume. Stay away from all windows and exterior doors. Turn off power when there is standing water or fallen power lines. Prepare to evacuate to a shelter or to a neighbor's home if your home is damaged, or if you're instructed to do so by emergency personnel. Many hurricane-related injuries are cuts caused by flying glass and debris. Other injuries include bone fractures and puncture wounds from exposed nails, metal, or glass. Adzelon Audio and Video Production Company wants you and your family to be safe this hurricane season. Get a kit, make a plan, be informed. Brought to you by Adzalat Audio and Video Production Company and this station.
"42-year-old Kenneth Big Tom Flowers appeared in court today, facing a charge that rarely, if ever, comes to court, procuring defilement of a person by threat. It stems from the circulation of a cell phone recording which allegedly shows him verbally abusing and commanding a woman to perform oral sex acts on a male. The Commissioner of Police himself called it disgusting and launched an investigation into the matter. But before they could come up with the charge on September 3rd, police detained Big Tom under the Southside state of emergency. Now that the Southside SOE is expired, Flowers was taken to court today on that single charge of procuring defilement of a person by threat. In court, before the charge was read to him, Flowers expressed that his constitutional rights had been violated. He explained that he has been remanded from September 3rd, 2020, which is 1 month, 4 days since for the matter, and that he should have been brought to court long before for arraignment. Senior Magistrate Ford explained to him that he needed to take up the matter in his constitutional claim with his attorney at the Supreme Court. He further explained that since he was detained under the SOE, he has been mistreated because the victim in the case against him has indicated to police that she does not want any court action against him. With that, Senior Magistrate Ford explained to Flowers that due to the nature of the offence, no plea will be taken from him. He was detained, he was denied bail in the first instance and remanded back into custody at the Belize Central Prison until December 3rd of 2020. On Monday, police announced the arrest of Clayton White, the man charged with the murder of 36-year-old Gilbert Alamia, a popular dancehall artist known as Mr. Program. White is the man who inflicted the fatal wound, but he was only the first to be charged with Mr. Program's murder. Police have also apprehended 28-year-old Raheem Davon Marsden. Marsden, who had been on the run since Friday, is the man who allegedly threatened Program and his companions before ordering White to kill him. He becomes the second man to be charged for Alamia's murder. And in the aftermath of Mr. Program's death, there seemed to be social media backlash against both the National Institute of Culture and History and the Music Ambassador for their alleged lack of support of local artists like Mr. Program. It's a notion that Minister of Culture Patrick Faber outrightly rejected today, telling the media that artists must take advantage of what niche has to offer and that he himself had encouraged Mr. Program to apply to the Cultural Development Fund.
Niche has developed the Culture Fund and entities. In fact, I will tell you this, I met Program a few weeks ago in O.J. Errington's office, back on whichever street that is used. And he and I spoke. And I told him, I said, why don't you apply? Why haven't you applied? So if the artists don't take advantage of what niche has to offer. But there have been cases, there have been times when other musicians, I remember the Garifuna Collective when we gave them that award. Again, that is something that is proof that we don't neglect our artists.
Niche has pledged the use of the Bliss Center for the benefit concert in Mr. Program's name and put $32,000 towards his funeral expenses. Faber also reminded the public that Niche's revenue has flatlined in recent months due to COVID, with the department's remaining workers taking a 50% salary cut. Last month, we told you how 23-year-old O'Neill Ferguson was gunned down in his own home while watching TV with his girlfriend. The gunman had fired on them through a window, but while Gillett escaped with her life, Ferguson was riddled with 8 gunshots and died on the spot. Today, a little more than a month later, police have arrested and charged 21-year-old Ladyville resident Rashid Anthony Maskell with Ferguson's murder. Police have reportedly intercepted a large stash of heroin, not a common drug in Belize, and one that if released into the streets could cause havoc. The discovery was made yesterday when Belmopan Special Brand searched a pickup at a Capital City gas station on the Hummingbird Highway. 4 men were inside, 3 of them from Valley Community in Sand Creek and 1 from Maskell Village, Belize District. They were reportedly heading from the direction of Dangriga to Belmopan. When police searched their Ford Ranger with Sand Creek plates, they found a black knapsack in the pan of the truck. The bag contained 4 plastic packets with a total of almost 8 pounds of suspected heroin. This is a high-value bust because heroin has about twice the street value of cocaine, and with a bust of this size having a U.S. street value estimated in the hundreds of thousands of U.S. dollars. All 4 men are detained pending charges for drug trafficking. They include 1 Guatemalan who lives in the Valley community. The Department of Youth Services is no stranger to organizing programs for young people. And while in the past those have been for creativity, skill building and summer programs, like everyone else, they have had to adapt to the changing realities of COVID-19. That's meant doing their part to combat disparities in students' access to computers or devices of any kind. And this morning, Cherise Halsal stopped by their Belize City headquarters for a first-hand look at how the DYS is doing distance learning.
The Department of Youth Services is facilitating distance learning by addressing the lack of access to computers, devices, and guidance. Department of Youth Services Communication Officer Renata Samuels explains.
We are doing distance learning this time around, and there's a lot of primary school students and high school students that do not have resources available. Sometimes their parents aren't equipped to be able to teach them, or they have jobs, so they're left there and they wonder, how I'm going to get my work done? So the Department of Youth Services has partnered with the Ministry of Education. They found us these young people that are really in need of resources, help with resources, and as well as help with the one-on-one sessions. So we have a group of young people that come in every day in the morning and in the afternoon. There's 2 different sessions from 8:30 to 11:30, and then another set comes in at 1 o'clock to 3:30. And what we do is every single room in our department has been transformed into an education center where we have a youth officer attached to maybe 1 or 2 young persons, or maybe 3 depending on how much it is, and they teach them the coursework that they are assigned by their teachers. So they go through the work, they have access to the internet, to the computers, to printing, every single thing that they need.
We also spoke with one program officer who has had to take on the role of tutor, providing supplementary support to help kids complete their distance learning packets.
The kids come in with their work. Sometimes the kids have no work that they are getting from the school. So what we've checked with them is that we start with the basics, because some of them are actually struggling with the basics. So when they don't get work from school, we try to give them access to different resources and different information for them to start learning and start practicing what they probably don't remember, probably are not getting from their teachers.
Aliyah Castro is one of the kids currently attending the DYS Distance Learning Center. This morning, she told us that adjusting to Google Classroom hasn't been difficult, but that she misses the camaraderie that you can only get from the classroom. So, Alia, tell me about what you do when you come here.
Schoolwork,
What kind of schoolwork?
language, math, science, social studies, and more.
So now, how has this been different than the type of school that you're used to doing?
It's different because then I have no friends, but they wait beside you and help you, like group work and more. I would like to go back to school.
Why?
Because I can go with my friends and go sit down with them.
That type of face-to-face instruction could still be a long way off, but until the day that these kids can return to the classroom, they can be safe in the knowledge that the youth department's doors are always open.
From the beginning, a lot of young people have been saying they really need this, they appreciate it. They come sometimes even earlier than the time that we assign because they want to get work done, they enjoy the program. We have youth officers that try to do pretty little icebreakers and some fun to get them on the feet rolling. We have snacks provided for them and we try to make the learning environment conducive to their growth. So they have everything encompassed here where they can be able to grow and be nurtured the way they would be in a classroom.
Cherise Halsall, 7 News.
And while the youth department is doing what it can for program participants, Minister of Education Patrick Faber says he's doing everything in his power to procure the long-awaited and very necessary electronic devices vital to distance learning. This morning he reiterated that the devices, which remain in high demand worldwide, will be arriving in batches.
I took the time to ensure that all things are being dealt with. That naturally has caused us to slow the process in a way, and so now I think we're just at the point where we will procure the devices. It is my hope that the devices will start arriving very soon, and as they arrive in batches, we will distribute to the students in our secondary schools across the country. Let me assure Belizeans that there is no kind of it coincides with our election, of course, but it will not be distributed by politicians. It will not be distributed politically. In fact, as I've said to my colleagues in the opposition, that these tablets will be distributed as per the results of 2 surveys that were done not by the Ministry of Education at the ministry's request, but via the schools to ask students about the availability of devices to them.
Faber says the tablets will arrive in 2 to 6 weeks and accepts that even if he is not in office then, students will still benefit from a program he spearheaded. But as Faber grapples with his re-election, he's well aware that today's students are tomorrow's voters. He says that this time around, grabbing the youth vote is a vital part of his campaign strategy. That's why he's in full support of the Department of Youth Services Youth Votes Matter campaign. This evening, he told us why the nonpartisan initiative is to be applauded.
It is something that ought to be applauded. I think it is absolutely necessary, particularly since they are not taking any kind of partisan approach. I think it is important for our young people, whether they are red or blue, whatever color they may want to support, to participate in the process of democracy in our country. But that participation ought not be limited to just voting. They ought to be heard, and they also ought to be seen to be involved in the best kind of way. Because of an event that they're having, I think somebody asked me at what age did I get involved? And was I first elected? I was first elected at 24. And so there is no other way for me. The young people are important. The youth vote is very, very important. It defines where we are today, but more importantly, it will define where we go in the future. And so I embrace any such activity. And in fact, in my own campaign within the party and within my own constituency, we are targeting and intend to continue to target the youth vote because it is so important for our victory.
John Briceño is also looking at those youth votes, and as a businessman himself, he is also trying to appeal to the private sector. He told us yesterday that his approach to COVID-19 and tourism would be to relax the protocol for tourists.
Sir, if elected, what would be the difference in your approach to COVID-19? Would you open tourism fully and abandon some of the strictures as the BTIA has requested?
We cannot make it so difficult for the tourists or visitors to come to Belize. If you make the process onerous, they are not going to come. I believe that the process is overreach, overkill in what the Ministry of Health is trying to do in opening up the airport. I believe that we should have opened up the airport since July. We have to be more proactive. We have to use technology. We have to be common sense approach. And I believe that we can do those changes and make it easier for the tourists or visitors to come and for them to be safe and also for citizens to be safe.
Would you continue locking down areas that have outbreaks? Would you consider locking down, for example, Orange Walk right now that has so many cases and an increasing number? What would be your approach to managing the country were you elected with this COVID pandemic nowhere near to an end?
This is an all-out war against COVID-19. It means that it's not only the public health division should be taking on this fight. It also means that we need to get the private doctors, the private clinics, the private labs to be able to help. If you are COVID positive, then we need to do one of two things. One, we need to go to your home to find out if you have the facilities where you can be isolated. And if you do have that, then the medical officials need to have a meeting with the family for them to understand isolation means that that person stays in a room by him or herself. The second part to that is that if you go to the home and you find out that you do not have the facilities because you have a lot of people living in the house, you don't have enough rooms, then we need to provide a facility for them. There are a lot of hotel rooms that are empty that people are not using. We can then take over those rooms and put the patients in there.
Briceño also says that he would open the Corozal Free Zone, which has been closed for months due to the threat of COVID-19 for Chetumal specifically and Mexico generally. Now that's a loaded proposition because the municipality of Otonbi Blanco, which includes Chetumal, has 1,000 more active COVID cases confirmed than Belize, and it has 6 times as many deaths. But Briceño said jobs are the highest priority.
As soon as we get in, we need to look at the job situation. We are going to open the Corozal, the Northern Free Zone, safely so that Mexicans can come in and do their business and purchase. That in itself will create a few hundred jobs here in the north, especially in the Corozal district. We're going to do it safely with proper social distancing, masks, and the cleaning of hands and so forth. Making sure that we can make it easier for people to come into Belize, to come and visit or to do business in Belize. That, again, is going to create more jobs.
And we take a break now. When we come back, we'll show you an ugly case of school vandalism in the Toledo district. Don't go away.
Our frontline teams continue to deliver safe and reliable power to customers every day. We are in your neighborhoods and care about your safety. Please continue to maintain a social distance of 6 feet to allow our teams to serve you safely. continues to keep the lights on.
The world as we know it has changed. Now, more than ever, local businesses need our support. Whether they're taking online orders, setting appointments, or taking reservations, our business customers depend on us for the best in business solutions, high-quality products, and reliable services to keep them connected to their customers, to keep their doors open. Digi is ready for this change, and we're committed to doing what it takes to ensure that businesses can remain profitable during this time. Digi is here, and you don't have to do this alone. Together, let's embrace the new and unlock all the waiting possibilities.
Border jumping is illegal and puts our entire nation at risk. Our neighbors, Guatemala and Mexico, are experiencing rapidly increasing numbers of COVID-19 cases, and there are more deaths every day. Persons entering Belize illegally from these hotspot countries are not being tested for COVID-19. That's why it is important to report anyone entering Belize illegally by calling our hotlines. Smart users call 0800-JUMPERS or 0800-BORDERS. For Digi, call 0800-SAVE-BZE. Condoning or engaging in border jumping is putting yourself, your family, and the entire country at risk. Remember, anyone caught will be fined up to $5,000 and or imprisoned for 2 years. Stop border jumping now. This message is brought to you by the Belize Police Department and the Belize Bank.
Saltar la frontera es ilegal y coloca a toda la nación en riesgo. Nuestros vecinos, Guatemala y México, han experimentado un rápido incremento de casos de contagio de COVID-19 y hay más muertes cada día. Personas entrando a Belice ilegalmente, viniendo de esos países con múltiples casos, no les están haciendo las pruebas de COVID-19. Es por eso que es importante reportar a cualquiera que entre ilegalmente a Belice llamando a nuestras líneas directas. Para Smart, marque 0800-586-7377, 0800-267-3377 y para Digi, marque 0800-728-3293. Tolerar o participar en entrar ilegalmente es ponerte a ti, a tu familia y a todo tu país en riesgo. Recuerda, cualquiera que sea arrestado deberá pagar una multa de hasta 5,000 y o prisión por 2 años. Detén el salto de fronteras hoy. Este mensaje es presentado por el Departamento de Policía de Belice y el Banco de Belice.
This evening at around 4:30 p.m., the Director of Health Services, Dr. Marvin Manzanero, hosted the latest edition of the Government Press Office's Facebook webcast, Ask the Experts. He was there to provide a detailed update on the Health Ministry's countrywide surveillance of the coronavirus pandemic. There are a few important topics he commented on, but we start first with what he had to say about the positive COVID-19 cases that have been detected at the Belize Central Prison. Over the course of all these months that Belizeans had been living with the contagious and deadly, the poison disease, the prison had one of the very few institutions that COVID had not penetrated. That's until last week when 5 guards tested positive. And now it's spread to the inmate population. This evening, the Director of Health Services disclosed that the prisoners are now being tested and 3 of them have already been detected with the virus.
I believe you saw towards the end of last week that we had initially 4 prison officers had been documented to have tested positive for SARS-CoV-2. A team went up there yesterday, and there's another team that went up to help Colby health officials to go through that screening process to make sure that we are able to contain any potential situation there. A further 2 prison officers have tested positive, so that makes a total of 6. And in the screening process that was done yesterday, 3 prisoners were detected as positive cases. That is on the SD biosensor rapid test that we have been using. This was done out of a random process. The prison is divided into different areas, and so random process was done. And these 3 prisoners, one of them had been symptomatic the day before, and that's why that person was screened. And the immediate close contacts of this person were also screened, and they all turned out to be positive. Those samples are going to be further processed through a PCR screening process, and until that is done, then that's how you will see that reflected in the infographic. The preliminary data I have is that a further 90 persons, 90, are to be swabbed if they haven't been screened or swabbed today, but I don't have the report of what that screening process has entailed.
Last night we told you about the 4 COVID-related deaths detected yesterday in Orange Walk and the 39 new cases countrywide that were identified from a total of 175 tests. Dr. Manzanero had a few important disclosures to make on those fatalities, but he also shared a preliminary report on today's COVID testing. Once again, the number of new patients detected in the daily testing is increasing. According to the DHS, 67 positive patients were identified, and they are persons mainly from the Orange Walk and Belize districts.
In terms of the preliminary data for today, we have 67 positive cases, good amount of those being in Belize district and the Orange Walk district. You'll get a further breakdown once we finish the infographic by should be around 6 p.m. Out of 306 samples processed, and we had preliminary 35 recovered cases. So that's what is in the data for today in terms of cases.
Dr. Manzanero also shared details on their investigation into the 4 COVID-related deaths from out of Orange Walk, as well as a few of the challenges that the health professionals have been experiencing from positive patients who are refusing to cooperate and get help. Here's what he had to say about a few of the positive patients who are actually in denial about being sick, that is, with the virus.
With the 4 deaths yesterday, our rates went up to 1.5%. It is still only when you compare it to other countries, and again, I keep saying that any single death to us, we go back and review, and it's a cause for concern. But when you compare it to our neighbors immediately up north, they are hovering around 11 to 13% mortality. Our one is around 1.5%, but notwithstanding that is still significant. Now again, you go back and review the data as to why it is that people are dying. As I said, not everybody is going to necessarily die of acute respiratory failure. For example, of the 4 patients that died Yesterday, only one of those persons was ventilated. The other 3 just had acute thrombotic conditions such as myocardial infarctions, strokes. Those are the primary driving factors. We also went back to review just this morning the data of what are the main reasons why people are dying in case we are missing situations in people older than 65. What is the primary reason why people would be dying? And we have to go and maybe draft up a memo that all these persons who are having sudden death or dying of myocardial infarctions and strokes should be swabbed as a matter of routine now, but just so that you know, we have multiple causes of death. Of course, congestive heart failure, heart disease, hepatic failure, diabetic complications, sepsis. All of these are reasons why people are dying. But of course, in some of these instances, it is COVID-19 that is the common denominator, if you will.
The Director of Health Services also said that there have been few of those COVID-positive patients that have actually refused medical help until the very last minute when they were facing life-threatening complications that they could no longer ignore.
Can you comment on the 4 deaths yesterday and that increasingly COVID victims are not reaching the KHMH ICU COVID unit but dying at regional hospitals and at home? Yeah, well, part of what I said has to do with the factors that people are determining. I know that we have had at least 2 persons die at Northern Regional Hospital saying that they are not coming to Carl-Huchner. They have refused to be referred to Carl-Huchner. I know of at least 2 persons who actually asked to be discharged from the Northern Regional Hospital because they did not want to stay there, and they decided that they were going to go out and rent the oxygen tank so that they could get supplemental oxygen at home, and then they were brought back basically to die at the regional hospital. Those factors are factors that I think are driven by fear, by misinformation. I know of a person who died in the Cayo district who refused to go. He knew he was in severe respiratory distress and basically said, if I go, I know I will be hooked up to a ventilator and I'm not going to go. So persons are having respiratory distress, and the other person that died from Cayo, I know, refused to seek medical care until he was really literally gasping for air. That's when he arrived, referred all the way to Carl-Huchner. As soon as he got there, got intubated and was 2 weeks hooked up to a ventilator. Of course, the sooner you are able to do an intervention, the less likely it is that you're going to have the poorer outcome that we seem to be having. So it has to be part of an educational process, but I don't know how you're going to get over that hurdle of people not even wanting to be tested. I know of a particular family where the family member, where the person died, was confirmed as COVID-19. They are still refusing and debating to date that their relative died of SARS-CoV-2. They have had a second relative die of SARS-CoV-2. And the other family members that are ill are still not accessing health services, notwithstanding that health is trying to bring them on board because you want to avoid those communications.
And according to Dr. Manzanero, despite the ongoing second wave of coronavirus cases and all the alarm that the authorities have been raising, Belizeans are still behaving irresponsibly. He said that the ministry continues to receive persistent reports that people are not practicing proper social distancing and they are ignoring the law, which makes it illegal for persons to gather in groups more than 10. Here's that part of the webcast.
I met with the regional manager yesterday, and there's a team that went up there yesterday, and we had the health community and participation technical advisor is in Orange Walk today, because we have been revisiting what has been happening and what's going on in Orange Walk. When we look at the data that we have, there's multiple reasons why why the situation in Orange Walk doesn't seem to go down. We have situations that are in rural communities in Orange Walk and situations in urban Orange Walk, and they are all different reasons. You have many social factors as to why people don't necessarily seek attention promptly. Some of it is driven also by fear. People are still fearful of finding out that they have COVID-19. Some people have been very straightforward and saying, I don't think I have COVID-19. I don't know anybody. And people, even though they are symptomatic, are still not coming into the health facility. We have been making diagnoses in persons who 5-6 days later are still coming back to tell us that they don't believe they have COVID-19, they believe they have something else, and so they are not accepting the diagnosis.
The director and his team are also concerned that persons who have been diagnosed as COVID-positive patients are not taking the necessary steps to reduce the risk of spreading it.
We are noticing that some people are also not known diabetics or not known persons who have had high blood pressure. We are making the diagnosis almost the same time as the diagnosis of SARS-CoV-2, or at least the patients are seemingly not aware, or even if they were aware, these are persons who got the diagnosis and never had interaction with the health system until they come back complicated. We're also noticing that patients are lying, and I'm saying this because we have had patients who have been swabbed. We have had pregnant women who have been swabbed because they have been in contact. They show up at the health facility. They don't inform anybody, and sometimes they're about to deliver. So you go through that process, you go back and check in the system and realize that they're positive for SARS-CoV-2. That's a situation that puts people at an extra layer of risk because then the healthcare worker doesn't take all the other necessary precautions when you have SARS-CoV-2. So it's multiple factors. I know that it's not easy for us to be able to address it from just the Ministry of Health standpoint.
And all of those compounding issues are not assuring Dr. Manzanero and his team that the infection curve for this COVID second wave will flatten soon. Here are his comments on that.
We, from the Ministry of Health standpoint, were anticipating that we were going to see surge in cases, which means that we really haven't plateaued in the current wave when it started back in the third week of July. We are still increasing cases. The positivity rate of samples processed dipped a little in the second week of September, but it has gone up again. It's hovering between 18 to 23% of cases, and I don't know that it's going to go down anytime soon. But we are anticipating that with the flu season coming on, we may very well be having a further surge, if you will, towards the second portion of November into December and maybe early January. And I can't say that it's related to the airport situation. Look at the numbers that we are getting. Over the last week, the numbers not related to the airport situation have just been gradually increasing, if you will.
Over the last 10 years, Belizean American Patrick Menzies has had a number of appearances in the public domain. He was first introduced to the Belizeans back in May of 2011 as one of the firebrand negotiators for the Belizean bus operators who were having a dispute with the Barrow government. Later on, he emerged as one of the most outspoken conservatives who were condemning the controversial gender policy. His role as a spokesperson for the Spanish-speaking churches of the Cayo district on high-profile LGBT issues was cemented when the Alliance of Ministers and Leaders of Belize was formed. Then, in 2012, he became the founder and financier of the Jasmine Alert program, which was designated as a quick reaction mechanism for children who went missing. In all his public appearances, Menzies has been unyielding and uncompromising on his strong views. And now he's venturing into politics. He wants to become the area representative for the Belmopan constituency, and he's running as an independent candidate. This morning he called a press conference to publicly declare his candidacy, and that's when he announced that after many years of activism as a private citizen and as a founder of several NGOs, he came to realize that his ideas for governance reform will only be implemented if he gets a seat in the House.
I believe that after establishing the Diaspora Desk, after establishing Bellicorps, which is a volunteer organization, which included a senator, and the head of organizations at Belmopan, after establishing Jasmine Alert and financing it, after establishing, which is the Amber Alert of the US, after establishing Belize Can, which is a non-profit, non-governmental organization, and after establishing the Alliance of Ministers and Leaders of Belize, and looking at what the Prime Minister's wife said a few weeks ago, our fight against the Equal Opportunities Bill, which is a byproduct of the gender policy, I decided that since they will use the legislature to be able to get their point across and to force LGBT down our throats, I decided it is time to use the legislature, because if they will squeeze the governors, meaning the ministers of government, we also must do the same. You got to get in. You can't do it from the outside. We've tried everything peacefully to influence change. We spent 45 days a night at the National Assembly. 21 days, same thing. I therefore have decided to put my name in the hat, although I will share some very important points. My candidacy will go to the Supreme Court.
But Menzies has a major roadblock to candidacy for Belmopan. He holds dual nationalities as a Belizean American, and according to the Constitution, that disqualifies him from becoming a member of Parliament. He told the press today that shortly after nomination day, when he anticipates that his candidacy will be rejected due to this law, he will file a constitutional challenge.
I plan on nomination day, when I am rejected, I plan on taking it to the Supreme Court. And that is the only place for it to go. I have no doubt that it is unconstitutional, that the Constitution gives me the right to be a dual citizen. How can it therefore take away my right for me to be in government?
Menzies has also declared his intention to run for mayor of Belmopan in next year's municipal elections. Mental Health Day is fast approaching, and to celebrate, Belize City's Welcome Resource Center is hosting a telethon with participation from local artists such as Super G, Ras Indio, Jackie Castillo, and even the Garifuna Collective. The aim is to raise awareness for both mental health struggles and the plight of the homeless. We stopped by the center this morning, where Administrator Joyce Ellis told us how to get involved in supporting the Welcome Center and mental health initiatives in Belize.
On October 10th is actual World Mental Health Day, and it's also World Homeless Day. We usually do a night of being homeless, but because of the pandemic and everything, we can't do any activity that would entitle more than 10 or so persons. So we're still promoting our shirts, we're still selling our shirts, and we're asking that whoever, organization, business, individual who buy shirts from us, send us the pictures, post it up, say, use our hashtag I support the homeless, hashtag World Mental Health Day 2020 BZ. Beside that, on Saturday, in place of our annual banquet, we will be having a telethon that would be broadcast on all media houses. This telethon will be from 10 to 4, and we will have artists like Super G, the Garifuna Collective, Ras Indio, and also Jackie Castillo. We have Puma Service Station that is also pledging something to us, but besides doing their pledging, they're also assisting us with putting boxes in the service station in the city for people to drop in their donation. Our center will be open on Saturday to accept donations and pledges. So if you can't do it through the bank, you could also come to the center and drop off your donation and pledges.
You can catch that telethon right here on Channel 7 from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. on Saturday. Would Belize, under a new government, consider switching alliances from Taiwan to mainland China if the price was right? This country is under a crippling debt to GDP nations right now, and some would argue that a strategic alliance could be in its interest. We asked the leader of the opposition for his position yesterday.
Is there any contemplation when one looks at the dismal state of the country's finances and the state of debt, very high debt to GDP ratio? Is there any contemplation that perhaps if you were elected, a Briceño administration would contemplate a shift to Red China, the Republic of China, away from Taiwan?
No, we have not contemplated that. We have had a good relationship with Taiwan since 1989. There are people that come around and want to talk to you about it, but I have not contemplated it. We believe that Taiwan has been a good friend and that we continue to work closely with them.
When we left you last night, Hurricane Delta was barreling towards Cancun and the northern Yucatan Peninsula as an extremely dangerous Category 4 storm. Well, fortunately, it lost force before it reached land. It made landfall this morning as a Category 2 storm, and by early afternoon, well, Delta had passed over the Yucatan and was into the Gulf of Mexico as a Category 1 storm. The damage to Cancun was significant, but not as major as had been feared. Reuters reports that fallen trees partially blocked access to Cancun's strip of five-star hotels. Smaller properties suffered caved-in walls or shattered windows. Delta's arrival was a blow to Mexican efforts to revive tourism battered by the coronavirus pandemic in the surrounding beach-lined state of Quintana Roo. Early this morning, teachers of Our Lady of Bella Vista Roman Catholic School, located in Bella Vista, Toledo, were greeted to a nasty surprise. Someone broke into their school's compound and ruthlessly vandalized several of their classrooms. One of the classrooms was actually lit on fire, and that blaze spread to two others. The teachers and the administration are already challenged with overseeing the distance learning of their students, and now they have to work on cleaning up the damage from the arson and other acts of vandalism on the school's buildings. This evening we spoke via telephone to one of the teachers about the incident, and here's what he told us.
Well, early this morning, I believe one of our teachers arrived at 7. He was the first to discover his building, which was actually, the entire door was actually broken off. So, and then he took off, I guess he took pictures and put it in our school's chat group. Okay. And that was when I was alerted, and immediately I tried to hurry to school, and that was the talk of the day. You know, there was a lot of school supplies being taken. One teacher reported that 28 packs of typing sheets were gone. So as I come closer to my to where my class is, which is upstairs, we could see that outside was black with smoke, and there was a smell of smoke on the compound as well. So one of the vice principal accompanied me, and then we went upstairs, and when I opened the door, that was when I saw that I don't know how to describe it, but terrible sight. In my class was where actually fire took place. There is 3 standard 5 upstairs, and well, it just spread to the other classes. Some students brought their work Monday morning, and yesterday we were finished correcting them, and all of that. That is what they started the fire with. So our students' work were burnt. Fortunately, it is a cement building. Okay. The major damages done were to our charts. Okay. I mean, I guess you have seen the pictures that I posted, and they are really damaged. It is everything I need to remake. Painting the classroom, it's all over. It's doing it all over from scratch.
According to Chair, this school has been burglarized several times in the past, but after their fence was built, those types of incidents became rear. Before we close tonight, a correction. Earlier in the news, we told you that the niche had committed to providing funds towards funeral arrangements for well-known Belizean artist Mr. Program. That financial commitment was erroneously reported as $32,000, but it is in fact $3,200. We apologize for the error. That's all we have for you for tonight. Thanks for watching with your news. I'm Indra Craig. Remember that you can see a streaming video of this newscast at 7newsbelize.com. Brought to you by Digi for the best postpaid plans in the country. Remember now to wash your hands, to wear a mask at all times in public, and to keep your social distance. Make sure to join me back here tomorrow at 6. And until then, have a great night.